Finally, the ACT exams was over. That night, to celebrate our 12 years of prison-like school life, with the strong support of our advisory teacher and student council president, we rented an entire large private room as the venue for our graduation party. Everyone was having a great time, acting extremely unrestrained in front of our advisory teacher and all the subject teachers. There were people drinking, playing cards, and gaming that I was stuck in traffic on the way and arrived a bit late. In the private room, there were already some people singing at the top of their lungs. Emily, over here, my desk mate, Lily, waved at me. She was sitting around a small table with several others, playing Uno cards. There happened to be an empty seat next to them, and right beside it was Ethan. Ethan was the undisputed heartthrob of our class. Not only did he have a handsome face, but he was also a top student. Scoring 650 on an exam was considered a bad performance for him. Of course, he was also the guy I had been secretly in love with for 3 years. However, my persona had always been that of a funny girl. How could I have the nerve to talk about feelings with others? He was sitting there, holding cards in his hand, yet he exuded an otherworldly, aloof aura that I hesitated a bit. When I met Ethan's gaze, I found that he was looking at me too. My heart skipped a beat. What? You look as if you're afraid I'm going to eat you, Ethan said coldly. I pouted and finally sat down beside him. Actually, Ethan was my ex-deskmate. Just some really embarrassing things had happened. For example, once my period came unexpectedly. I wasn't prepared, and I soiled my chair. But at that time, I didn't know it. When I came back from the restroom, I just saw Ethan, who had just come back from playing basketball, wiping the bloodstains on my chair with a wet wipe. I still can't forget that resentful look in his eyes. It was as if it was his chair that had been soiled. There was also a period when I had a bad stomach and often had diarrhea. Lily, who lived outside of the dormitory, brought me some muffins and said they would make my stomach feel better. As a result, Ethan endured my gas attacks all day long. If I were to confess my feelings, I'm sure everyone would think I was trying to cause him more trouble. This isn't much fun without any punishment. How about the loser has to drink a small glass of cocktail? Lily was indeed like me. There was nothing she couldn't suggest. Everyone was having so much fun that they all agreed that I end the first round. Lily lost. She dug her own grave, and I mercilessly laughed at her. I end the second round. Ethan lost. I didn't expect Ethan to be so unlucky. He lost in the third and fourth rounds as well. The cocktail didn't have a high alcohol content, but if you drank a lot of it, it would still have an effect. You have a good tolerance for alcohol. Ethan glanced at me. Thanks for the compliment. Tsk.as expected of the guy I had a crush on. He was so concise with his words, just as I was secretly feeling relieved. I lost the next round, just as I was about to pick up the small glass to drink. Ethan blocked me. We've been playing this drinking game for so many rounds. It's time to change it up. Ethan had a lot of influence among this group of people, but everyone still heckled a bit. Ethan, you can't do this. Why didn't you say anything when I was drinking? That's right. Don't tell me you're showing favoritism just because Emily is your ex. What ex are you talking about? Right now, Emily is mine. Lily was the first to object. I waved my hand boldly and snatched the small glass back. Stop. It's just a small glass of cocktail. Let's do it, guys. Just as I was about to drink it bravely, like a general going to war in ancient times, Ethan mercilessly snatched the glass from me. Are you crazy? His voice was as cold as ice, and his eyes looked deeply into mine. I broke out in a cold sweat and tentatively said, "What's wrong? Did I dig up your family's graves?" What did he mean by crazy? I was just drinking a small glass of cocktail. It was like a piece of cake, not poison. What was Ethan up to? Ethan poked my forehead with his index finger, which he often used to deal with me. Did you forget that you had an allergic reaction with hives when you secretly drank beer last time? I was a bit surprised. Allergic reaction. Then I remembered, once, I did really poorly on a math test, only scoring 121. I was so sad that I wanted to drown my sorrows in alcohol. Coincidentally, there was an event at the school gate, and I got a bottle of beer. I secretly poured a small sip into a cup and drank it, but I thought it tasted really bad, so I gave the rest to Ethan. After that, I felt a bit itchy, but I didn't pay much attention to it. What? Was that an allergic reaction? Why didn't I know about it? Oh, you don't need to say any more. I think I understand. Ethan didn't look at me again, but I still caught that hint of disdain at the corner of his eye. Damn it. Emily, you're allergic to alcohol. How did I not know? Do you not love me anymore? Then I interrupted her. Come on, hurry up. What's the new punishment? Bring it on. I'm ready for anything. Lily pushed me aside, adjusted her glasses, and said mercilessly, truth or dare. According to the rules, the first person to win gets to ask the question. Coincidentally, it was Ethan that I choose truth. Go ahead and ask. Ethan leisurely took a small sip of his cocktail that he casually shuffled the truth or dare cards in front of him and picked out one that said, tell about the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to you. I paused. The most embarrassing things that happened to me were all in front of Ethan. Was I really going to say them out loud in public? Damn it. Why did I have to draw this question? Once, during self-study, I was eating. An old school administrator reached her hand through the window. I thought she wanted the yogurt bottle in my hand, so I gave it to her. Does that count? I managed to get through that question by bluffing that I end the next round. I won without a doubt. This was fate. I was eager to see which unlucky person I would get to question. Unexpectedly, the wheel of fortune turned, and Ethan lost again. He also chose truth. I drew a card that said, tell your height. Damn, this is huge. Wow. The people around us cheered. Ethan's height was something that countless girls both inside and outside of school were curious about. No one had ever known his exact height. 0.6 feet and a little over 2 inches. Ethan reported the number precisely. He even had to report that extra 0.2 inches. He must be really stubborn. I subconsciously thought of a biology concept and muttered softly. Apical dominance inhibits lateral bud growth. The voice was neither too loud nor too soft. Coincidentally, just as I said this, the karaoke king was changing the song. And the private room, which was rarely quiet, was filled with my words. Now the atmosphere became even more silent. High school graduates might not understand this. Maybe a college student can explain. Anticipating danger, I looked at Ethan with a guilty expression. It would have been better if I hadn't looked. As soon as I did, my heart almost jumped out of my chest, since I haven't been to college. The only way I can describe his expression is as if it were poison. I was just kidding. You, really? Do you want to check if the lateral buds are inhibited? He almost ground his teeth as he spoke. If it weren't illegal to eat people, I'd suspect he wanted to swallow me whole. Once these words were out, not only me but everyone present who heard them gasped. How did the conversation veer off in such an unpredictable direction? I forced a smile and said, I was joking. Don't take it to heart. Hee. It was so embarrassing. If it were someone else, maybe people would think there was something flirtatious between us. But if it's me and Ethan, others would just think it's presumptuous. The graduation party finally came to an end. And Ethan didn't make things difficult for me during the later programs because of my offense. When the college entrance exam results came out, I wasn't surprised at all to get the score I wanted. Ivy University. Here I come. However, unexpectedly, I saw Ethan again. I didn't expect Ethan to be at Ivy University too. I remember he wanted to go to that top-tier Harvard-like university. Why did he come here instead? Even more astonishing, Ethan was in the same major as me and in the same class. If I hadn't triple-checked that this class group was the one I belonged to, I would have thought I joined the wrong class group. The second day of school was the class ice-breaking activity, which was actually a class meeting where everyone went up to introduce themselves. There were a total of 32 people in computer science class 1. There were quite a few girls, 11 in total, which was considered a lot. As soon as Ethan stepped onto the stage, the girls below had stars in their eyes. An Ivy League top student, handsome, tall, with a cool and pleasant voice. He had all the winning cards. As his former high school deskmate, I felt like his family member. Hello, everyone. My name is Ethan. I'm from. I didn't listen to the rest of his long introduction. I only heard. I went to the same high school and the same class as Emily, who just finished introducing herself. We were also former desk mates. Damn it. He's so unloyal. He actually gave me away. Everyone in the class looked in my direction. I seemed to feel a few disappointed glances. High school classmates, desk mates, and now college classmates in the same class. One boy and one girl. Does Ethan want to stay single for the next 4 years? As an intermittent social phobic, I couldn't stand being under everyone's gaze. having a crush is one thing. But just because of all the embarrassing things I did in front of Ethan, I had already decided to give up on this crush. There are plenty of fish in the sea. Right. The upperclassmen who came to promote clubs these past few days were really hard-working. In order to get those extra credit points, I joined a table tennis club, finally. When the results came out, I was successfully selected. This was definitely my awesome skills at work. The WeChat group of the information school's table tennis team was buzzing non-stop all day long. Zach from the class of 2022. I heard there's someone from the varsity team in our information school team. Who is it? Come out. Big shot. So I can pay my respects. I was curious. Varsity team. Any one of them is a big shot. But since they're in the varsity team, why are they also in the school team? So I voiced my question. It seems that members of the varsity team can freely choose a school team and are responsible for taking attendance for the morning training every day, so that's how it is. That makes sense, until I found out that the table tennis king from the varsity team was actually Ethan. This guy can play table tennis. Before, I only saw him play basketball. And that was rare. I always thought he was just a bookworm who only knew how to study. When did he become so good at it? He even got into the varsity team and passed the audition. Damn it. When I auditioned for the school team, the senior who was interviewing me asked if I could accept getting up early to practice. That I said with great conviction that of course I could. Getting up early is a good habit, but within 2 weeks, I skipped morning training 3 times. So did Ethan. Mark me absent many times. During the evening training, before it was my turn, Ethan messaged me on WhatsApp, "Miss, are you coming to the evening training?" This was the first time Ethan had messaged me. It's kind of funny, because of my cowardice as a person with a crush. I didn't have his WhatsApp in high school for 3 years. It was only when I joined the table tennis team that the senior asked us to add the WhatsApp of all team members that I finally got his "Miss." This title really overestimates me. Well, I have a favor to ask. I don't know if I should say it. I think you shouldn't. Damn it. I was in the middle of binge watching a show. I really didn't want to leave my computer. Come over and play a couple of rounds with me, and I'll let you go. Another message from Ethan popped up. Otherwise, I'll mark you absent. And you can forget about getting your credits. Is he like a little kid? Marking names. What's the difference between you using credits to blackmail me and a woman using a child to keep her husband? The chat box kept showing typing. A few seconds later, Ethan's name and nickname appeared again. But no message came through. Is it that hard to reply? Soon, a message came. And my heart actually skipped a beat. The difference is that we're not married. How did it feel? Like there was some unusual flirtation in there. This kind of reply seemed normal in the context of our chat. I'm probably not very shrewd. I really believed Ethan when he said it was just for a couple of rounds. The evening training was supposed to be an hour and a half. But Ethan made me train for 2 hours. He said it was to make up for the morning training I missed yesterday. When did this guy learn to play table tennis? He played so aggressively. I felt like I spent an hour out of those 2 hours just picking up balls. It made my head spin. Can't take it anymore. Ethan held his racket and taunted me. I was half lying on the ground, leaning against my backpack like an old grandma. Can you? Ethan's expression was complicated. My quick-witted mind immediately thought of something. That's not what I meant. Don't think too much. Ethan put down his racket, looking very amused. What did I think? Are you feeling guilty, Emily? I really want to know what's going on in your head all day. At the graduation party last time, I was quick-eyed and covered Ethan's mouth with my hand before he could say more. The next second, Ethan shook off my hand in disgust. What are you doing? Getting handsy. Your hands are sweaty from playing ball. And you're covering my mouth. I sneakily glanced around. A few people who had been attracted by our conversation just now turned back to what they were doing. So I said, "What are you doing? Talking so loudly? Are you afraid others won't know about our little issues?" What little issues? Suddenly, a head popped up from behind, shouting. I was so startled that I almost did a breakdance on the spot. Ethan, on the other hand, was very calm, as if he had already known someone was coming up behind me. I turned around, still in shock, to look at the culprit. It was Lily. Lily went to the neighboring medical school, just a street away. Damn it. You trying to scare the hell out of me. You're so sneaky. You two little issues. Lily, always one to make a big deal out of things. Raised and lowered her voice on purpose. Before I knew it, Ethan had run off. leaving me alone to deal with this silly Lily that I helplessly explained to this fool. Lily, the second week of school. Summer camp started. The drill instructor was very young. He was a junior from the neighboring school. After standing at attention for a long time, I was almost dizzy. The drill instructor asked the girls to do sit-ups and the boys to do push-ups. Suddenly, there was a chorus of complaints. Spare us. Fragile college students. God. When I kick the bucket, tell the counselor to tell my parents to get me a pink crystal coffin. Same here. +1. Hurry up. Don't be so slow. Not long after we started, the boys and girls next to us let out sharp screams. Wow, so cool. Girls love it. Damn. Ethan is really something else. That I looked over and saw Ethan doing one-handed push-ups at the drill instructor's command. The summer camp uniform was a bit loose for ordinary students, but it fit Ethan perfectly, as if it were custom-made. He made the ordinary summer camp uniform look like a general's uniform. The long sleeves were rolled up halfway, and the bulging muscle lines were clearly visible. When he lowered his body, his features became even more three-dimensional. 58, 59, 60. The drill instructor counted beside him. Then, the drill instructor asked a girl to come up and count. I don't know what kind of karmic connection I have with Ethan, but it just so happened that he pointed at me. I saw Ethan looking at me intently, from my angle. His sclera was more visible than his pupils, and there seemed to be a hint of hostility. Watch carefully. This is the standard push-up position. You men, don't just bob your head and call it a push-up. The drill instructor was really good at scolding. The boys below just nodded, their eyes fixed on Ethan. Sure enough, a guy who's a bit good-looking attracts the opposite sex. A really good-looking guy attracts the same sex, and a super handsome guy attracts both genders, like a universal magnet. 89, 90. I was like a heartless robot, just counting. I saw some fine sweat on Ethan's forehead, but his movements didn't waver at all. He really had it in him. I counted all the way to 100, amid the cheers of the crowd. Ethan stood up and returned to his team after the drill instructor gave the order. Okay, the demonstration is over. That boy just now doesn't need to continue. For the other boys, do 50 clap push-ups. No slacking off. If I catch you, you'll be punished with 100 push-ups, and I'll supervise you personally. Then the girls continued their training as usual. I was just about to return to my team. The drill instructor shouted at me. Did I tell you to go back to your team? I froze in place. The movement I was about to make was a bit awkward. Then sit-ups are a two-person cooperation. There aren't enough people. You ask this boy to cooperate with you. Do it here. Keep your movement standard, or you'll be a bad example. I was stunned that it was true. There were only 11 girls in the class, and there really weren't enough pairs. That meant, my innocent eyes looked at Ethan. Ethan didn't seem too surprised. Don't be so strict, I whispered. When I do sit-ups, I always involuntarily hug my thighs with my hands, which is not allowed in the standard sit-up movement. Be fair and square. Nobody should try to slack off. The drill instructor, perhaps hearing what I said to Ethan, started scolding again. Ethan held my feet and squatted in front of me. If I weren't lying down, this scene would be like a proposal. I thought of what he said a few nights ago. The difference is that we're not married, for no reason. My face turned red. The problem was that the drill instructor was standing right next to us, making sure every movement was standard. Every time I sat up, I felt that the distance between me and Ethan was way too close. Almost like we were about to kiss. I couldn't even imagine how embarrassed I must have looked. What's wrong? Your face is so red. Not feeling well. When I sat up again and got close to Ethan, he whispered. His tone was normal, without any ups and downs. Just a simple tone of caring for a classmate. I'm fine, throughout the whole process of doing sit-ups. This sentence kept swirling in my head. Of course I was blushing. I'm not a nun. I'm not immune to feelings. Ethan is still the guy I've had a crush on. That hasn't changed. Of course Ethan doesn't know that. When I woke up the next day, I felt like all the bones in my body were about to break. Sure enough, as a veteran in college, the last time I seriously did sit-ups was, well, a long time ago. My body has long since become out of shape. My roommate came out after washing up and saw me rubbing my sore back. She teased. Oh, it seems everyone has some post-exercise soreness. Yesterday, you and Ethan, stop joking around. My stomach is still sore. Can't this topic be a little more straightforward? Hey, do you have something going on with Ethan? My roommate's gossipy eyes were almost blinding me. Nothing like that. Do you really think there's a chance between us? Why not? Weren't you high school classmates? In the same class. And now in the same class in college. You two were also specifically chosen by the drill instructor yesterday. What else could it be but a match made in heaven? A match made in heaven. Not to mention that I don't agree. Ethan would be the first to object when I arrived at the summer campground. I felt Ethan's gaze again that it wasn't time to assemble yet. Ethan walked towards me and handed me a thermos. What's this? This isn't my thermos. Since when did he take on the task of returning lost items? Ethan knocked on my head. Your big brother got it for you. For me. What did he mean? I took it suspiciously and opened the thermos. There was warm tea inside. Warm tea. Does your stomach still hurt? He asked. Why are you giving me this? I'm not on my period. I muttered. This was a bit more than just simple friendship. Wasn't it? Was it just because we happened to be high school classmates in the same class? So he's taking extra care of me. Anyway, the possibility that Ethan likes me is definitely out of the question. He was merciless when he threatened me with credits last time. As if afraid I'd misunderstand. Ethan said. I meant because of the sit-ups yesterday. In case you complain about it on Facebook all day. Oh. So it was because of the Facebook post I made last night. 3 weeks of summer camp passed. And finally, I could take a breather. As one of the top majors at Ivy University. The training plan for information technology is really intense. I'm such a computer novice. I can only type and do simple copy-pasting. I was already completely lost during the first professional course. And then the teacher asked us to download a software. The computer I bought was too advanced. And I really didn't know how to operate it. After struggling for half an hour without any success, I just posted a status on Facebook with the caption, download it yourself. Be a good boy, girl. A few minutes later, my phone dinged. It was a message from Ethan. An installation package. What's this? Damn it. And you, my friend, you're truly amazing. Just a few seconds after I sent the message, he replied. Look at your pitiful state. I have 2 installation packages. It's better to keep the benefits within the family. What does he mean by pitiful state? I'm clearly a human being. Okay, Facebook. Hee. The all-powerful Facebook. And the all-powerful Ethan. I giggled for a while. And my roommate thought I was acting crazy and gave me a kind greeting. Then my phone received another message. And it was still from Ethan. Let me know when you've installed it. If you still don't know how to operate it, come to the library. And I'll teach you myself. Teach me himself. My mind went back to the time in senior year of high school when Ethan patiently taught me physics problems. I was almost brought to tears. We argued with our necks stuck out. And finally, we had a cold war for a week. As for why we made up, of course, it was because I didn't know how to do my math problems either. I can install it. No need for you to teach me. Well said. After all, you haven't paid any tuition fees. So heartless, because I stayed up too late studying how to operate the computer yesterday. I successfully missed the best time to get up. And it turned out that the whole dormitory overslept. Finally, we rushed to the classroom in a hurry and just managed to sign in at the last minute. There was an empty row of seats at the back. And Ethan had already taken a seat in the last row. He's quite sensible. Knowing that sitting in the front would block others' view. I just happened to sit in front of Ethan. Did you go off to be a pig? Ethan clearly said this to me. I didn't reply. Suddenly, there was a snap sound on my back. And something was pulled up. I turned around abruptly. Damn it. What are you doing? Then I realized that the zipper on the back of my dress hadn't been zipped up. Damn it. Did I really walk half across the campus like this to go to class? There were still a lot of students rushing to their 8 a.m. classes when I was going up the stairs. So did I. Embarrass myself big time. The key thing was that my roommates didn't even notice. We were all in a hurry. My face turned red. Much to my embarrassment, why do all these embarrassing things happen in front of Ethan? I really want to die at Ivy University. Who are you trying to seduce? Ethan's voice wasn't loud enough for the people around us to hear. But it was annoying enough. Definitely not you. I gave him an angry glare. I really should thank you. Don't mention it. This is something you should be thankful for. I turned my head and took out my textbook from my backpack. Where's my introduction to computer science? What's this medical record book? And general theory of labor? It must be because the covers of General Theory of Labor and College Computer Science Foundation tutorial are too similar. And they're the same thickness too. That's not all. I took out my water cup, and what do you know? It's a bottle of Ajax toilet cleaner. I just bought it yesterday and put it on the table. It looks extremely similar to my blue water cup. And another thing. I took out a pen, and it turned out to be a white stylus. All these scenes were seen by my roommate and Ethan. My roommate was holding back her laughter so hard that her face turned red like Guan Yu's, while Ethan didn't try to hide his amusement. What a student who studies hard and makes progress every day. Listening to Ethan's teasing, I had no way to vent my anger. A few days later, it was time for the school sports meet. The sports committee member had been frantically sending messages in the class group these days, urging everyone to sign up. No one volunteered for the 1,000-meter race for boys. So in the end, it was decided by drawing lots. As luck would have it, it turned out to be Ethan. With Ethan's physique, one step of his is like 2 steps of others. Isn't this a sure thing? If a class wins an award, the whole class will get extra credit points. It's the so-called one person suffers. The whole class benefits. I quickly messaged Ethan on WhatsApp. Hey handsome guy, good luck at the school sports meet. For the 1,000-meter race, he replied quickly. What? Don't you check the class group? You were drawn to participate in the 1,000-meter race. The 1,000-meter race. That's right. It's too late for you to change it now. With your popular persona in our class, I'm sure students from other colleges already know about it. When Ethan was participating in the top 10 student selection in the first year of high school, he said that he was interested in computer technology and liked to study all kinds of codes. He even once hacked into the school's firewall before the joint exam results were announced and exported the scores of all subjects. Of course, that was for a bet between us. I bet that my Chinese score in that exam was definitely going to be higher than Ethan's. Otherwise, I would be responsible for his snacks during the breaks for a week. If I lost, he would be responsible for mine. But the joint exam results could only be fully announced at once after all the schools finished grading the papers. Ethan probably couldn't wait and just did it. Unfortunately, my Chinese score was actually 1 point lower than Ethan's. Just because of this 1 point difference, not only did I lose my dignity, but I also had to pay for the snacks. The classroom was on the 5th floor. I ran up and down so many times. I'll remember this for the rest of my life. If Ethan hadn't broken into the system and gotten the results in advance, I could have served 3 days less. Do you know how I survived those 3 days? You must do your best. It would be great if you could get the first place and bring honor to our class. I sent a message to encourage him. Although the 1,000-meter race isn't a big deal, for a freshman who hasn't had much physical training in the past 3 years, it's a huge challenge. You really want me to get the first place? Of course. You have no idea how many extra credit points the whole class will get if someone gets the first place in the school sports meet. After I sent this message, he didn't reply. I guess he was going to bed. The school sports meet arrived soon. Since I didn't have any competition tasks, I naturally became part of the cheerleading team. I wore a brown bear mascot costume and served everyone, like handing out water. Ethan's 1,000-meter race was the first event. Since it was a long-distance race and each class had only one participant, they just ran it once, and the results were announced immediately. There were no qualifying rounds or finals. Ethan had become famous throughout the whole college during the summer camp days. And of course, he was also quite popular in the whole school. 2 days before the school sports meet, the confession wall was flooded with people trying to get a spot to express their admiration for him. The venue was almost full. Both boys and girls were there, ready to cheer for Ethan, as the brown bear serving the crowd. I was waiting at the finish line with 2 cups of glucose water. Any competitor who finished the race could directly take water from the brown bear's hands. It was all about helping everyone out. With a whistle, the long-distance race started. Ethan, with his tall stature and long legs, took the lead right from the start. Before long, he pulled away from the others behind. The scene was filled with cheers and continuous shouts of encouragement. I was no exception. When Ethan passed by me in the first lap, he looked at me for a moment. I thought I saw him smile slightly, but he was running so fast that he was gone in a flash, and I wasn't sure if I had seen it clearly. Ethan crossed the finish line first without a doubt. The moment he arrived, a group of brown bears rushed forward to offer water, and I was pushed to the back. However, Ethan ran straight towards me, probably because of the momentum. He couldn't stop immediately. I was hit by him and took several steps back. Hey, are you okay? Be careful. The glucose water in my hands was almost spilled. Ethan held my shoulders to keep himself balanced. His voice still panting. Wasn't this for me? Then he snatched the glucose water from my hand and drank it all in one gulp. Me. What's going on? There were so many brown bears just now. And he could have chosen someone closer. Why did he specifically pick me? But subconsciously, I ruled out the possibility that Ethan liked me or had a crush on me. So, it's because we're familiar with each other. As the publicity committee member of the class, I manage the class's Facebook page. Our class had a really good performance in this school sports meet. And of course, I had to give it a big promotion with my eloquent writing. I quickly finished the post for the class Facebook page. But there was also a competition for the school sports meet posts in the school. If I won an award, I could still get extra credit points for the comprehensive assessment. So I widely shared it in the college class group and various club department groups, asking everyone to vote for me. Each account could cast one vote. As classmates, they naturally wouldn't let me down. But it was all about luck with the club members. When I shared it in the table tennis club group, Ethan quickly replied in the group, voted, "Don't let me down," with Ethan taking the lead. Other people in the table tennis club also liked my post. I took the opportunity to privately message Ethan. "Hi handsome. Look at how heroic and dashing I made you look in my post. Do you think you could share my post in the student union group? Thank you so much. Good people will have a blessed life." That's right. Ethan was also a member of the student union. I don't know what kind of good luck he had. On the day he was just selected, an old senior stepped down. They couldn't find a suitable replacement for a while, so they held a selection among the freshmen. Ethan looked like he had strong management skills, and with his good looks, he was almost unanimously approved. Don't even mention it. This guy was my Emily's biggest connection. Not long after, Ethan sent a screenshot of him sharing my post. "You're welcome. This is what I deserve." When I saw that message, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Why didn't I realize before that Ethan was so good at making jokes? Then, I stole a special heart-shaped gesture picture from my best friend Lily, who was at the medical university far away. Ethan replied, "Besides you and those scammers in Myanmar, who else would be so sincere to me?" Ethan's influence was really amazing. My post unexpectedly won the first prize. Well, it wasn't really unexpected. The data was real-time. And I had been firmly in the first place all along. My roommate joked with me. "Does Ethan like you?" I replied, "Do you believe that I'm the reincarnation of George Washington or that Ethan likes me?" I don't know when. Rumors about me and Ethan having something going on spread quickly. I don't know where these rumors came from. It seemed that because Ethan grandly announced in the ice-breaking class meeting that I was his high school classmate, and he zipped up my dress in public, and he only drank the glucose water I was holding at the school sports meet. And then later he shared and asked for likes for my Facebook page post during a less important class. The bell hadn't rung yet. Ethan had already arrived in the classroom and was lying on the desk, sleeping, with rumors flying everywhere. He could still sleep soundly. He was sitting by the window. In the afternoon, there was already a bit of the setting sun's afterglow shining in, just wrapping around him. I couldn't help but think back to high school. Every time I came back to the classroom after eating at the cafeteria, I would see him lying on the desk, taking a break. But at that time, after waking up, there were always endless assignments and self-study classes. Not like now when the schoolwork wasn't so intense. This was the first time I really looked at him carefully. From any angle, he was like the favorite creation of God. I walked over and pushed him. Ethan, with his hair a bit messy, raised his head. Seeing it was me, he lay down again, his face resting on his arm, facing me, and asked, "What's up?" "Rumors are spreading in the school and on the school forum that we're dating. You can still sleep. Aren't you going to clarify it?" Ethan seemed to be thinking about how to reply and didn't say anything for a few seconds. I seemed to notice that his gaze was a bit ambiguous, as if he was sizing me up. Was it because I was being too abrupt? Just as I was about to speak again, he said, "What's there to clarify? If it's a rumor, then a wise person will stop it. But what if it's not a rumor? What others said seemed so real. Won't this affect both of us? Anyway, I'm okay with it. After all, Ethan was the guy I had a crush on for 3 years in high school. But Ethan might not think the same way. His extra attention and care for me were just out of the kindness of a classmate, but the bell had already rung, and the teacher had come in. So it was not appropriate to talk anymore. That I picked up my phone, wanting to send him a message to ask how he wanted to handle this, but as soon as I picked up the phone, I didn't know what to say. Well, forget it. Anyway. It's not me who's going to suffer. The so-called idea that you can find a partner and meet better people in college is just nonsense. That I would have believed it if I hadn't realized that I talked to fewer guys in college than I did during one self-study period in high school. On Women's Day, there were activities at school. The boys in the class pooled money to prepare gifts for the girls. Of course, every year at this time, there's always a guy who makes an exception for a certain girl and then they end up dating. It's kind of strange. It's not Valentine's Day, but Women's Day that turns out like this. There was a normal training session for the table tennis team that I had almost become Ethan's dedicated training partner. A heartless ball serving and ball receiving machine. Of course, every time, I would almost inevitably be scolded harshly. Emily, are you out of your mind? The ball is right by your hand, and you can't even catch it. Your wrist. Your wrist. Move your wrist with your shoulder. Are you made of steel? So stiff. I really want to strangle you. Forget it. Take a break. I'll teach you the moves myself. So, if people saw Ethan's fierce look when he scolded me, who would think he was dating me? Hey, today is Women's Day. I'm a woman. Can you be a little gentler? Why are you so mean? I complained. I really wanted to quit the table tennis team, but since Ethan was one of the approvers, there's no way he would let me go. Ethan leaned against the table tennis table. You're a woman, I replied. What do you mean? Although I don't want to admit it, according to American law, anyone over 14 is considered a woman. Can you be a little more informed? You know what? It's kind of nice. I have a half day off this afternoon. Hee hee. I have an official leave approved by the school for tonight's evening training. You better not mark me absent. I smiled triumphantly. With no evening training, I could watch shows comfortably tonight. Ethan sneered. As if I've ever marked you absent. That I was shocked. You've never marked me absent. But before you, weren't there several times when you didn't come to morning or evening training? Do you think I'm going to write down each one? I have to explain the reasons to the school. I marked everyone as present and those upperclassmen. Not just you, Ethan added. I said, well, you're quite loyal. I didn't expect you to be so good at handling social situations at such a young age, but before, he actually threatened me with marking me absent. He just watched me running around in a hurry. And oh humanity, what was his deal? However, my plan to watch shows in the afternoon still fell through. Ethan and the team captain hatched a plan to have a team dinner. The location was set by the riverside. In simple terms, it was a camping trip. In the evening, more people came to the riverside. Many were young couples taking a walk. Women's Day was almost turning into Valentine's Day. There were only about a dozen people in the table tennis team, and we split up to wander around. I ended up walking with Ethan. There was no way around it. In this team, I was only familiar with Ethan. I hadn't practiced with anyone else. Ethan was my only partner. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. Ethan suddenly stopped and said, do you know why I joined the table tennis team of the School of Information? He looked at me. His eyes seemed a bit intense. I don't know why, but I suddenly felt very guilty. How would I know? You and I are from the School of Information. Where else would you go if not the table tennis team of the School of Information? After that, there was silence. The only sounds around were the music from the square dance that the elderly women were doing, the laughter of children, and their parents shouting, be careful. Why did he stop talking again? It was so awkward, actually. Members of the varsity team don't necessarily have to join a specific school team. They can stay in the varsity team directly. I didn't know why he was telling me this. Didn't the conversation just end? I could only say, oh, your roommate said you only joined one club, which is the table tennis team of the school. Hearing this, I was a bit surprised. My roommate. Don't you notice that one of your roommates is very gossipy about you and me? Then I searched my memory. It seemed true. There was one roommate. We weren't very close, but every day, she was the most interested in me and Ethan. She always asked me how things were between me and Ethan, if I liked him, and so on. I never expected Ethan's next words to shock and stun me. I heard Ethan say, she's my cousin. Since when? Ethan looked at my expression, chuckled softly, and turned slightly to face me directly. Emily, Haven't you noticed yet? His hands reached up to my shoulders. The last time he did this was at the school sports meet when he wanted to take the glucose water from me. Notice. Notice what? I was a bit uncomfortable. Maybe even a little panicked. Could it really be what I was thinking? But I also thought it was impossible that it was so obvious during my 3 years in high school. But Ethan never paid any attention to me. If we had mutual feelings, Ethan wouldn't have always been saying study hard and make progress every day back then. Suddenly, the surroundings lit up. There were many phone flashlights and handheld lights that seemed to come from nowhere. Suddenly, a bouquet of roses appeared in Ethan's hand that I was so stunned by this sudden scene that I didn't know what to do. I was frozen in place as if under a spell. The members of the table tennis team, who had seemingly gone off to wander around, suddenly all showed up and became the cheerleading squad. Take it. Ethan almost forcefully pressed the roses into my hands, as if he was afraid I would reject them. I subconsciously took them, and my eyes somehow became moist. I'm going to make the rumor true. You don't mind, do you? Emily, do you need a boyfriend? He said.